what I want people to realize is that there is nothing that you are not. So there is nothing to be afraid of. You're made of the universe. There's not a single missing energy in you. It's just that until we become aware of all that we are, we begin to fear that which we think we're not. And we fear that something is powerful because we don't know our own power. We fear that someone will take advantage because we don't know our own brilliance. We fear that we will not be loved because we don't know our unlimited capacity for love, because we're made of it. And so it's really about waking to what we think we aren't and recognizing that we are all of these glorious things. And when we do begin to integrate them, our fear becomes passion. Our anger becomes that power that gives rise to the fuel of our ever-evolving selves. And when we start to integrate all these energies that we think we don't like fear and anger and those kinds of things, they take on a new contribution to the recipe when we pull them back home again. Because we are the universe packed into a physical body. And we are blessed at this human level to be able to awaken to that and utilize it in our lives. We just have to learn how. So we're not broken. There's nothing missing. There's nothing wrong. We just need to learn how to utilize all the faculties that we have.
This is like a long time dream coming true. Oh my gosh, Dr. Sue Morter, welcome to Fire and Soul.
Oh, it is my great, great pleasure to be here. Honestly, it is my favorite thing in the world to do, is to have these deep, rich conversations where they might make a difference in someone's life. So I'm thrilled to see where we get to go today.
Oh, thank you for that. I woke up and I shared this with you before I hit record. I'm feeling really joyous and very excited and grateful. So it's going to be a gorgeous portal for us to take our listeners and viewers on. But you know, I want to just take a moment to honor you, because I'm sure you're not aware, but many, many years ago, we're talking probably 25, 30 years ago, when you were just beginning on this path, I saw you speak numerous times at Agape.
Yes,
Agape International Center of Truth, your bestie, Reverend Michael Beckwith, in so many ways. You know, that was my church, my medicine for 18 years until I moved to Florida, then came back. And then I found that, like, wow, church is here. It's in my heart. It's in nature. I don't need to go there as much. But I just remember seeing you take the stage, and man, you were embodied then. But then this is where I want to bridge it, because I had done so much work. And then I saw you grace the stage when someone in our audience at TLC, when I was a guest speaker back in January in New Orleans this year, someone's family member had passed and you walked on the stage. Remember that moment?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
You were so embodied. It was a whole different universe.
You
could hear a pin drop, and it wasn't because of anything other than like the space that you were holding and creating as a container of what was to come. And then you shared the most incredible story about your mother's transition in this life, and the four-leaf clovers and many more four-leaf clovers. And maybe you want to touch on that or not, but I just remember thinking, this is an answered prayer. I was asking my divine team for a while, please put someone on my path that can show me as an energetic, just fully embodied in her feminine and masculine, holding sacred space, not asking to be seen, but knowing who she is. And that was you. And it was just such a beautiful moment for me. So I wanted to honor you for that, because it was so deeply transformative for me. And it was just this moment on the stage that wasn't even scripted or planned.
It was not. And that is really when we are at our best, you know, when we're not scripted, when we're able to be present in the moment with what is real and what has heart and meaning, and truly what speaks from the soul is living. That is what living is. And so often people are out ahead of themselves, trying to plan something, make it look or be a certain way, instead of simply allowing what is to unfold. And I feel like if we walk in enough love and enough grace, will happen in our lives, that we're able to step up in any moment and meet people where they are and with what needs to be shared in a real and raw way. So thank you for those kind words. It has been an amazing journey in my life to ever drop into the present moment to that degree. And I know that it's a challenge for people. And that's really what awakening is. It's allowing us ourselves to recognize that we already are that which we have been trying to find, or that which we have been seeking, or that which we have been trying to prove or to validate, and to actually enjoy this deep truth of who we are requires not needing to be heard or needing to be seen, not even being focused on such a thing, but rather actually just bringing forth what has heart and meaning to you and living it out loud. And people cross your path and find you that are vibrating in that same frequency. And the next thing you know, you're surrounded by amazing people in amazing conversations and doing amazing transformative things in your life. So
beautifully put. Thank you for that. Wow.
yeah.
You know, there's something that you shared recently on another podcast, and it really struck me. And I was like, oh, we're going to just start there. Something to the degree of you are deepening more fully into the surrender of the vibrational frequency of love in the body. Can you expand on that? And how is it deepened even more so? It was probably a few months ago where that might have been shared from you in the moment.
You know, to allow love and the body and the mind to become something that we allow to alchemize, that we allow those components of our existence to become unified, allows us to become a grounded, loving presence in all sorts of situations of our own and for others. And so when we can feel the vibration of love, which we have often associated with something outside of us. Someone said this thing and I felt so much love, or someone did this thing and love just rose up from inside of me that I didn't even know I had, or I love you so much, or I hope you love me. You know, those kinds of out picturings start to creep into the mix, and it begins to dilute what I'm speaking about. That actually we're made of a vibrational frequency that is light vibrating. Now, if we take the unified field of consciousness, the unified field, which means all of the energies everywhere, and we begin compressing them, we eventually get to physical form. And if we go all the way back to the first compression that happens, it generates a vibration that we call love. That's what love is. And so when we can be in a loving way, or we can feel love rising, we can feel love in our bodies, we're dialing in to this foundational version of who and what we really are. So we get beyond the story of our lives. We get beyond the history and the attitudes and the opinions and the beliefs and all those things that we carry around like a heavy suitcase. We get underneath that, and we start to really see life from a place of infinite possibility, of what would I create from this? What would a loving person create out of this situation right now? If I were in a state of love, what would I interpret was happening in this moment, in whatever moment that I'm in? And just starting to speak from that, or think from that perspective, starts to change how we perceive and what transpires inside of our consciousness. And so what I have found is that when we explore that, it changes how we operate in life. And when we can feel that vibration in our bodies, it becomes more sustainable. The cells literally memorize those vibrational frequencies as home base. And we start to recognize instantly if we're off base, if we're up in our heads too much, if we're worrying too much, we're regretting too much, we're fretting too much, we're doing something other than being present in this moment. We can feel it in an instant when we've familiarized the cells of our bodies with what love feels like. We know when we're vibrating or dialing into a frequency that is not that. We can feel it in an instant. And so we have a moment to an opportunity to pause and to rewrite, or to begin again, or to reframe, our come from, which begins to change how people interact with us, and then therefore the life that unfolds in our path.
So well said. Thank you for that. There were so many questions that I had, but you answered them as you just keep.
I know. Sometimes it kind of goes on and takes over.
This is the place for that. I'm so curious, how you welcome, embrace, integrate some of those frequencies that might, let's just say, would be on the lower scale, right? Less light, although it's all light ultimately, but what are some of those practices that you have? I know that you are very attuned and acclimated to have the capacity to be all of you, but yet in
Yeah.
moments we're deeply human. So can you share
Yeah.
something like that so that we
You
know we're
bet.
all walking each other home?
Yeah. What has happened is people, we live in our minds, we live in our heads too much. And the mind is based in duality. And so the mind has a polarized approach. So it thinks there are good vibrations and not so good vibrations, good
Mm.
emotions and not so good emotions, good energies and not so good energies. And the truth of it is, we need them all in order to be light in a body. We need some heavy energies to get in the body. We need some heavier grounding energies that allow us to earth ourselves and to root ourselves. And so if we haven't learned how to be present with guilt or shame or fear or those kinds of things, then we're not in our bodies completely, because those are also energies that comprise us. Our bones are much more dense vibrational frequency energies than our inspirations, but they're all part of us. Our skin and bones, that heavy matter material, is just as much a part of us as our intuitions and our dreams and our aspirations. And so, we have to get out of our heads and get into our true whole selves, where we embrace every part of us. And, that's not so easy. It sounds smart. It sounds good. It makes logical sense when I say it, that we're full spectrum, beings. We're full spectrum creatures, and we're supposed to be animating and embracing and loving every version of who we are on this entire continuum, this entire spectrum. So if we are, have been living that way, and now we hear, okay, so I'm supposed to embrace my sadness. I'm supposed to embrace my anger. I'm supposed to embrace my fear, my guilt, or my shame. How? How do I do that? So I always start with inviting people to start loving the part of them that is feeling the heavier energy. Love the part of you that's afraid right now. Love the part of you that's feeling heavy or depressed or guilty about something. Or maybe you don't even know what it is that you're feeling. You don't have a name for it. You can't put your finger on it, but you're feeling like you're disconnected, or you're heavy, or you're not interested and not inspired, and you just want to go back to bed or what have you. There is a version of you that has not been embraced by the rest of you, and we have to get busy embracing that one. So you love with compassion, you love with tenderness, you love with an open armed sensation into this part of you that is feeling whatever that way is. In fact, I'm not even encouraging people to name their emotion, because if we name it, we have a story written about that kind of emotion. For instance, I'm feeling guilty. We have a story and a prejudice around guilty feelings, or I'm feeling ashamed. Well, we have a story and a prejudice about shame. And so we kind of get further away from the solution by analyzing it and contemplating it. We get up in our heads to understand it. But understanding it doesn't change it. Understanding it eases the mind. But when the mind embraces the body and the breath together, what happens is we start to unpack those energies and start to kind of recycle them. We open them up and allow them to be utilized in a new way if we just simply embrace them. So always bringing love to the mix is key, and loving in the direction of the part of you that feels a way other than how your mind would like you to be feeling right now will begin to open up a place of wisdom within your system that is so needed, because consciousness in the body becomes wisdom that is sustainable. It's a sustainable frequency that allows us to feel comfortable no matter what comes up next, no matter where we're headed with any kind of project, no matter what the outcome. I know I'll be fine. I'll know that all is well. I'll know when I get there what it is that I need to know to be successful in that moment, or to follow through in that moment, or to rise to the occasion in whatever way. So bringing mind and body and breath together is very, very helpful in those ways.
Very helpful. Mind, body, and breath together. It's like you were in my thoughts all night last night. I'll be very honest, like, rising to the occasion. I got a little bit nervous. I've had every dream guest I can imagine on this show. And last night I was like, am I as prepared for Dr. Sue Morter as I really, really wanted to be? And truth be
You
told
are.
exactly. Thank you.
Yes.
So
Yes, you
I
are.
had considered rescheduling for a moment. Literally, it was just like, ooh, one of those old thoughts, right? A thread that came in that just wanted to be loved, wanted to be noticed,
Yeah.
wanted to be embraced. And so this morning I went to my altar and I spent like an hour there. And it was just like, oh, it was just a very joyous, transformative moment. And it was exactly what you just described. Like, we are always ready. The truth of who and what we really are,
Yeah.
everything else gets in the way, which though brings me to a question, because I'm not quite sure how you, or what you teach, or if you teach on this. We're going to move into the energy codes in a moment because it's my favorite thing to talk to you or to learn from you about. But shadow work, you just kind of touched on it, maybe ever so lightly in your own unique way. But can you speak to how that may be of service to us? If it was language differently, or is it not? And the reasons why. I'd love for you to just expand your point of view on the big sort of pervasive thing that is happening in the world of self-development, which is you got to do the shadow alchemy.
Yeah. So, shadow work is about what remains in the unconscious, what is subconscious, and what is above this line into consciousness. And so, when we're waking, what we're actually doing is reaching inside what is unconscious or subconscious, below the level of consciousness, and pulling up to the light, to the level of consciousness that about us which we had not been aware of before. And so that which lurks in the crevices or lurks in the shadows is what is really being referenced when we're speaking about that. I reference it all as unresolvedness. If it includes karma, it includes shadow work. It's about that which is not yet open into the light, that I'm not aware of, and masterfully loving into. If there is a part of me that I have not yet loved into, then it is what would be considered still in the shadows, or still in the unconscious, or still in those crevices, or the unresolved part of me. And it actually drives my life. If it drives our lives, that which is not yet resolved is constantly pushing us into circumstances so that we will have to face it again, so that it can become resolved, because of the way our system operates. It operates in this flowing toric field flow. It's always presenting to the light what is up and ready to be, given rise to not be pocketed off, because that pocketed energy creates disease, dysfunction, breakdown of our system, on a spiritual level, on a mental and emotional level, on a chemical level, on a physical level. All disease comes from, as a byproduct of this, way back through our genetic, inheritance. It can even be detected. And so what we're learning in science today is that we can change what we are even carrying in our genetic compartmentalizations, in our genes. What we think we've inherited and that we're likely destined to experience is changeable by us. Now that's a profound reality to know. And what is required for us to become effective enough to change such things is that we do our shadow work, that we go into the crevices, into the unconscious, into the unresolvedness, and free up that energy that's being consumed in order to keep it suppressed. It takes energy to keep it suppressed. So while it's fallen into our subconscious, it's in there stealing our energy, and it's keeping us from being liberated and as free as we could be. So I can't say enough about the value of going in after that, but I also know this: a lot of people approach going into their shadow work from the perspective of their conscious mind and what they think their shadows are, like what I think is hiding from me. Unfortunately, the conscious mind can't tap into it that way. It is constantly being presented to us through our triggers, through our buttons that are being pushed. It's constantly being revealed to us that we have some unresolvedness, because the entire system, the universe, doesn't want us to have that. it abhors a vacuum. It doesn't want stuff to be pocketed off. It wants everything to be in flow. And so it's constantly, we are constantly finding ourselves in situations that push our buttons and trip our triggers until we start embracing those moments instead of running from them. So how do we embrace them in that moment? It's beautiful. The mind and the body and the breath, when they're working together, they are perfectly equipped to find out what's in that shadow, what's in that crevice, what's in that pocket, and pull it up in a usable fashion, in a proportion that you can handle, and at a time that is right for you. So we have to trust this. We have to trust that that's how it's going to work. And so coming at it from this perspective, and I'll just say this, and it kind of bridges into, you said you wanted to speak about the energy codes a little bit. What we're doing is learning how to use the body to tell the mind where this shadow lurks, where this unresolvedness is parked, what part of me is stuck or is locked back into something from, previous in my life or some past life, or however someone wants to look at that, and set it free, bring it forward, set it free, come to know more and more of the truth of who I am. And here's how it works. You're in a situation and somebody pushes a button, or you get triggered in some way. It is evidence that there's some unresolvedness, or you wouldn't be triggered by that situation. No matter what they're saying or doing, you would recognize this isn't about me. This is about them, unless it's about me because it's pushing a trigger, pushing a button of mine. Now it's about me. And so instead of asking, why do they do that? Or how many times do I have to ask you not to do that? Instead of asking that, it's about asking a better question. Where inside of my system is there pocketed energy that I could access right now, that would allow me to be able to be present in these types of situations in the future without it bowling me over like it is right now? And when you ask that question, your mind is going to go to a place in the body that is answering that question. Your mind is going to land in your throat or in your chest or in your gut and your stomach. Something is going to occur to you that will tell you, here's some unresolvedness. Here's a pocket of energy that somehow is related to the fact that you just reacted in this way. And so when we learn what to do with that, and we can talk about that if you want to go there and we have time, when we learn what to do in that moment, we literally dissolve our buttons, we dissolve our triggers, and we bring what was in the shadow up to the conscious level, into the light of our own consciousness. And as a byproduct of that, we start running on new energy frequencies, more energy frequencies. We have more resource to draw from in all situations when we unpocket this stuff. And as such, we make better decisions, not based in fear, but based in, what we truly want, based in our authenticity. And things just start to go down a different pathway altogether. We start living an entirely different life rather than dodging all the things that stir me or shake me or rock me or scare me. We start living exactly the way we want to live, and knowing that whatever comes up, I know it's in my favor. I know it's here to do some house cleaning for me. So that's a very long answer to your question about shadow work. But in short, my short answer would be, I think it's very important. Shadow work is very important.
Yeah, well, that is definitely a lane that we have been in, although we don't dwell in there. We used to as a community here, but we have learned to just honor the master teacher that shadow really is, right? So that's at least been my experience. And I had a recent plant medicine experience that I'll share briefly because I haven't shared it with my audience. It was in March, and I was still thinking I was kind of navigating life as like a main character in the Hunger Games. Evil controllers, and who knows what, and scared still, and realizing that it was taking away from my capacity to believe in a big, beautiful, bright future for myself or anyone else, much less, all of humanity. Let's just say no pressure. But in this particular evening, I was beckoned outside to be amongst the landscaping and the nature, et cetera. And there was these two palm trees, very, very tall, probably 20 feet high. And they personified my deepest fears. The evil controllers lunging at me, gnashing, just the scariest monsters, whatever you guys can imagine, just that's it. And you're like 5 years old again. This was me. And I noticed all I had to do was just look at it, just neutrally, not give it an opinion, not be scared, not give it too much attention, just be with it. And it would lunge even further. And it was almost like then the whole yard started to take note. I'll explain in a second more about that. Then they really lunged forward like they were going to get me. And I just was just looking at them. And then before I know it, they bowed their head. And what I got the message on, they returned to the light.
Mm.
Now, this is all energy, and it was all to assist me in my own awakening. But the moment that happened, granted, I'm on psilocybin, ayahuasca, some kana, it's a beautiful, gentle, heart-opening experience. The entire backyard, all of nature, the plants, the flowers, everything, they started to celebrate. And it was just like we were all in this procession of that's how you do it. Like, right, like when I'm not alone, I'm supported. We're all in this together. And those evil controllers, they are of the light as well originally. It was such an interesting experience. And from that moment, I haven't had that experience of being afraid to live in the world again. So the shadow work is really important. I believe that those dense layers and patterns of that energy that you talked about that was in the pocket, there was something that was liberated, and I have felt so light and buoyant ever since.
Mm.
So that is another
real.
reason, thank you, why I would definitely love to make time for. Let's speak about the energy codes, because this is the most important work, the bioenergetic medicine that you are a master of, a founder of, a pioneer of. Anything that you feel called to share in this moment, based on the way this conversation is going, that can be helpful for our listeners and viewers to become more present to what's happening inside their body, breath, mind.
Beautiful. Yes, it is. It is undeniable that when we discover a choice point,
Yes.
which you discovered when you were looking at the palm trees, you're like, wait a second, I'm at choice here.
Yep.
You know, that all I have to do is be with this. I don't have to fix it. I don't have to change it. I don't have to decide its meaning or its value. I could just be present with this instead. That's a choice point. It's a choice moment that people can develop a skill of recognizing that all day long they're in these choice points. There are moments all day long where they're either being pulled into a story or they're staying on self. They're either being pulled onto other or they're staying on self in an anchored and embodied sort of way. And so there's an ancient teaching that basically translates to subject, object, subject. And it has to do with where I land my consciousness, because we are pure consciousness. We are awareness itself. That's what we are at our deepest constitution. We are energy that is awake. And we have a mind that can focus that energy and point it in certain ways. And we can dial it in and focus in different fashions and how we're going to experience life as this energy. But the bottom line is we are energy, and we can use our mind, excuse me, to focus where we're going to point the energy. And we landed here in this life. We sort of splatted. We sort of like drop in and we splat, and our energies get dispersed. Our mind, our body, and our breath, they're all in different directions. And we look externally in order to figure out, am I okay? Am I safe? What just happened? I've like slid in home base here and I'm splatted on my way in, and I don't know what's what. So we look to the outer world to tell us if we're okay. We look to the outer world to tell us that things are safe. And we look to the outer world to feed us and clothe us and, teach us and so forth. And so we externalize our power, our focus, and our attention, and all these little packets of energy that we are made of get scattered and dispersed. And then we do that for decades and decades and decades. And so we are used to externalizing our power, putting our attention over there on you. If you think I'm okay, then I'm okay. If you are okay, then my chances of being okay are pretty good. So if I can control your okayness, then I get to know that I have a pretty good chance of being okay today. And it's just this entangled way of living that is so distorted and reflecting backwards. So this practice is to come back onto the self. And it's about internalizing our focus instead of externalizing our focus all the time. And we don't know that we're externally focused because we've been that way our whole lives. So it's like the fish doesn't know that it's in water because it's been there its whole life. It doesn't know the difference. So we have a choice. Do I give my power over there, or do I pull it back onto myself? And so I teach this exercise as a simple introduction for everyone to just start working with this. You can do that at the dinner table. You can do it when you're talking on the phone with someone. You can do it when you're on a Zoom call with someone. You can do this all the time. And it's subject, object, subject. So subject means you bring your attention onto you. Object means you give it away. and we unconsciously give it away. So imagine right now that if someone's listening, or watching, that someone enters the doorway of the room that you're sitting in right now. So someone's in the doorway, and let's say that someone that's in the doorway is someone who pushes your buttons or trips your triggers, or you have a history with, or there's a charge associated with, or something that's unresolved about that. And so watch what happens. They just came into the doorway. Your energy goes to them. Mm-hmm. Now, notice how you feel in your body. There they are standing in the doorway. Imagine all the stuff that you've been through with them, or all the ways that it has affected you, and the upsets that it's caused, and what you'd love to say to them, but you've never been able to, or all that stuff. And boom, there goes your energy. It's over there in the doorway. It's on them. It's not on you. So now keep looking at them in the doorway, but just secretly, stealthily kind of call your energy back onto you. Mm-hmm. You can still be in conversation with them. You don't have to go away. In fact, it's better if you don't. It's better if you don't even take your eyes off of them. Mm-hmm. If you can stay there and build new circuits to be able to stay present at the same time that you're also tending to the self. So what happens is, just by bringing your consciousness back into your core, into your belly, into your heart, into your throat, into the low pelvic bowl, below the navel, deep in those wisdom center areas where that richness really anchors you, regardless of your circumstances, what happens is you start to pull that energy back onto subject, you, instead of object, other. And so then notice how that feels in your body. There's a warmth, there's a presence, there's a richness, there's a sense of well-being and okayness, a strength that happens. And then put your attention right back on them again. Just watch how it just flows, flies off of you onto them. Notice how that feels in your body. It's empty, it's vacant, it's, deadened, it's numbed out. And then just pull it right back onto subject, from object back onto subject. And instantly you will feel as if a waterfall is pouring into you, as if an emanation is turning inward onto you, and you're receiving. What you're actually receiving is you, a you that you've been giving away most of your life in some form or another. And so there's nothing wrong with sharing you, but just keep enough on you for you to keep you in the game. Don't deal all the cards away without dealing yourself a hand at least, right? It's that kind of a principle energetically. So by simply refocusing your attention, what happens is now we're back on the self. And when we're doing that, we can operate in so many beautiful ways that are not fear-based, that are wisdom-based, that are in pure exploration and adventure in their disposition. And what happens as a byproduct of that is you say different things. Different energies emit from you. There's something coming from you that is whole and complete and rich and good, and you attract more of the same into your life, and your life begins to reflect that. So then the next things that I do are based in, I teach people how to sustain, how to anchor, how to really remain in a sustainable manner in the body, on subject, instead of dispersing their attention into the exterior world, so that they can heal, so that they can be productive, so that they can be innovative and tap their creative genius and move forward into their successes that are destined for them, if only they would come home to experience them. Yeah. So I teach people anchor points and work with a central channel and really allow all of the levels of consciousness that we are made of to start to integrate, so that people begin to flourish, because they're tapping their wisdom and their creative essence and their personal power and their loving presence and their ability to speak and manifest, and the awareness of their multidimensionality and their freedom to choose, like what we were just describing with you choosing to be present when you're looking at these palm trees instead of being afraid, but just making a choice to stay present with whatever is happening, and also to be present with our own divinity, all at the same time. That we should have access to all of these qualities of our true, whole, full self in any moment, and not be subject to being either strong or loving, to being either smart, or creative. to being capable of being present for others, but also keeping yourself in the game. So that world of integration leads to a both and sort of existence, which allows for greater and greater abundance. So I'll stop there and see where
I'll
you want
let
to
you pause, right? That's so good. I was hanging on every word. There were so many threads that I want to weave, but what really kind of sparks the most aliveness right now is feels like you were just giving us such a beautiful blueprint for really what's happening. Like other is whatever we're seeing in the news or mainstream media, or so if there's a lot of like thoughts around what may be the next psyop, whatever, right? But if we bring it back to subject and we connect consciously to our divinity, whatever that might mean in our original sort of practices and rituals, but definitely read the energy codes. I mean, Dr. Sue's book is insane. And I will link it all in the show notes, but that for me feels like a beautiful reflection of what I share, but it's also a pathway to navigate these times, not only through resonance, but through tapping back into our truth, to our power centers, our energy centers is what you said. And so I love this, right? Because we can be so focused on the outward, who's going to save me, what's safe, all these things. We are safe here, right here within. And when we can realize ourselves and the totality of who we really be, then we have a better shot at being in the game, firmly rooted, right, in our authentic, humble, reverent power. But I would love to share, you to share, if you are willing, about the energy codes and maybe a good place for us to even get started. And you might even have some visuals, and I think that could be helpful too for those who are catching this on the YouTube. And by the way, if you aren't, definitely come on over because this is going to be a visual feast. But I loved watching you do this in another episode that I watched you on someone else's podcast. And I thought, that is it. This is our pathway home, real home.
Beautiful. Yes, I would love to jump in a little. And you mentioned safety, just a second ago, and I just wanted to comment on that. Safety isn't a good enough goal. It's not a good enough. It's not enough to try to find safety. It's not a good enough goal for you or for anyone. It isn't. If safety is our goal, we will always be trying to outrun danger. And we will never get into exploring the grand adventure of what it means to be a multidimensional being in a body on Earth on this beautiful playground that we have created and brought ourselves into to be able to harness and become awakened to ourselves as creators. We're literally creative essence in a body. We are source energy right here in human form. And so we're here to learn how to keep ourselves alive, right? And so safety is key, the first decade of our lives, and we're not supposed to stay there. We're supposed to evolve from that, recognizing that there are some fundamentals that I can do to be intelligent about the choices that I make in my life. But we never really grow out of keeping safety as our goal. And therefore we stand in a threshold that is keeping us from stepping through the threshold into this beautiful life of abundance and joy and transformative capacity, constantly living there. And so we're always feeling like, I feel like I'm right on the threshold. Something great's about to happen in my life. Something's about to open up for me. And I'm saying, go ahead and step through that threshold. Don't just stand in the threshold, because all that needs to happen next is you stepping into a world where that you're okay. We're made of energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed. It is forever. The spiritual world talks about the fact that you are spirit, and spirit is eternal. And the scientific world talks about the fact that you're made of energy, and energy is eternal. Or they don't use that word, though, because that's reserved for the spiritual conversation. Science needs to say it. Energy can't be created or destroyed. So both are true, and they're both you, and they're saying the same thing. And so if we could embrace a little bit more of that, we would see that we are here to explore and to create and to express and to generate and to literally experience ourselves as artists and inventors and such of our lives our dynamics, of our conversations, of our relationships. We're here to create them, not react to them or survive them or get by. And so safety, whenever I hear reference to that, we're trying to be safe, and we're stuck in trying to be safe. And so I just want to plant the seed for everybody today that, maybe safety isn't the graduate program. Maybe you're ready for the graduate program. Maybe just step on into, your creative expression, discovering what it is that you would do if you were safe. What if you were safe? Then what would happen? Then how would you think? Then how would you dream? Then what would your day be like if you were this thing that you've been trying to accomplish on a subconscious level, for maybe the whole of your adult life, in those efforts. So
that right there is so powerful. What an incredible distinction. As soon as you started talking about safety, and that's how basically like a low vibe goal. And I was like, yes. And immediately my celestial court was like, it's wholeness.
Yeah.
Right. Like come back to wholeness, that reclamation practice that you talked about earlier, that, bringing your energy back, subject other, which is such a beautiful entry point. But it was like, when you're whole, there is nothing to be safe from.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. That was a beautiful distinction. I have a feeling we'll be transforming that language going forward.
Yay, let's help spread the word. Okay.
We're in church today.
Yeah, we are going to church. All right. So a couple of images here. I'm in a different studio than I normally am in, so I don't have all of them, but this is going to be helpful. Okay, for us. So basically, we are the universe. Okay. So the universe, this unified field, compresses itself into a funnel and into a channel, and that channel makes its way all the way to the earth. It hits the earth and rebounds up. And it goes as high as it can go, and then it recycles. It just fountains out like a fountain, and then it recycles, and we take that energy up again. And it's inside that recycling that we build this physical body in the developing womb. It literally is that way. So first we are energy, and the energy builds a body, which is something that people don't normally think about. So we usually think that we have energy that radiates off of our body, but energy built your body. So the master system is the energy system. And that's kind of what we're speaking about. So then what I want people to recognize is that this universe compresses into a funnel, which becomes this channel, which hits the earth, rises up again, comes up and cycles around in this toric field fashion. And then it projects itself forward. And if my hand right here was a movie screen, we are walking into a movie that we're creating. We're constantly just walking in to this movie. So whatever we're allowing to come through us, to come all the way through us, creates the movie that we're walking around in.
Our reality.
Yes, it creates our reality. Yes. Our reality is our movie. And we have an agreed upon reality that has been the agreed upon circumstances and details that have been handed down. But we also know that when new things are introduced into cultures, cultures change. And so we're here actually as an opportunity to introduce new things into our culture instead of just trying to fit into whatever everyone else has already created. We're here to bring our own ingredients, our own little extra spice to the recipe to, make it our own and to contribute to a better agreed upon reality for everyone. So when we start thinking in innovative terms and allowing ourselves to be the inventor and the creator in our lives, we're animating different vibrational frequencies than animating the survival frequencies that humanity has been locked into for far too long. We're trying to evolve as a species into a higher state of consciousness. And everybody talks about raising our vibration and, getting our energy up and this kind of thing. And so deepening our acceptance into all energies will allow us to shine this movie light onto a movie screen that is more comprehensive, that is more complete and full and not just selective and, and homogenous in that way. And so we want the eclecticism of embracing things that we didn't embrace yesterday. We want that sort of continuity to be there and comprehensiveness if we're going to be living a full and abundant life, right? So just as a little close up here, this one's usually helpful for people to get a bit of a a mix on an understanding that this energy that I was just describing goes this way. It comes down through the body, hits the earth, rises up again, and cycles around and around in this giant donut kind of shape around the physical body. And it's inside that we build this body in the developing embryo. And here's how most people function. Most people are functioning where this energy comes in, hits the earth, rises up, but it goes around various things that we've shut down, circuits that we've shut down in our lives because we loved once and we got hurt, so we're never doing that again. So we have to sidestep the heart a little bit. Or we tried that one thing that the coach wanted us to do, or the teacher wanted us to do, or my mom or my dad encouraged me to do, or my older brother or sister, and it didn't work out so well. So, I'm never doing that again. So our relationships, our personal power, all sorts of things become affected. And so these centers of consciousness in our system get shut down in various ways. And so the rising energy has to wobble its way and weave its way around the aspects of us that have been shut down. So that rising energy picking up a wobble starts to create a distortion in the energy field. So now this person is standing inside their own energy field, looking out through a distorted frequency. So they see a world that doesn't care. They see life that's not in their favor. They see danger around every corner. They see that things don't work out and that you can't trust people and that they don't listen to you. All of that gets created and is reflecting back to us, but it's coming from this area in our central core that is wobbling and moving and weaving its way around the areas that we've shut down consciously or subconsciously along the way. So what the energy codes do are give people an opportunity to build bridges through the gaps, or to open up the densities where these circuits have been shut down. We open it up to a flow again that allows for this constant healing energy and integrative energy that will awaken and enliven our consciousness to flow, to do its thing. So with the energy codes, we are learning where I need to build those circuits or those bridges to cross those gaps, or to open up those areas that have become so compressed because I shut them down, a while back. And the body will tell the mind where I need to do that work first, and then next, and then next, and then next. It will unpack it in a most graceful and embracing manner that we would never have believed was there for us all the time. The support, the love, the conscientiousness, the tenderness, the kindness, the consistency, it is right there when we learn how to bridge the mind and the body and the breath together as the unified team that they're supposed to be. So the mind would never think that I need to let the body help me decide what to do next. But if it would get the answer, and the mind wouldn't feel like it's all alone, and it wouldn't feel like it is isolated and that it needs something out there to show it what to do, or to save it, or to make things better. And in all the while, the mind and the body were meant to be working together on subject, staying on the self in a manner that we can feel and sense and know where I need to connect the circuits again, to be able to feel and sense my wisdom and my personal power and my connectedness and the support that is here on an ongoing basis from the comprehensive recipe that is right here, this whole person. But I've been living in my head and not experiencing it. I've been out here in the mental body instead of in here in the physical body to receive and perceive the wholeness that is available to me. So we ask, where in the body could I build some circuits right now to feel more comfortable in this situation? And in that moment, your mind is going to go to your throat, or to your heart, or to your gut, or to your stomach, or to your pelvic floor, or into the center of the brain, or up and down your whole spine. Your mind is going to go there, because the moment that we ask a better question, The system is going to answer it. But we've been asking the wrong questions in life. We've been asking, why do you do that? And why can't you hear me? And how many times do I have to say this to get you to understand? When in reality, what science is showing us is that there's nobody out there. It's really all a reflection. We're creating our own movie. And these are actors and actresses that we've hired, and we've written a script, and we've written the plot and the whole thing. We're projecting the movie. We're the director and we star in it. We're the producer, all of it. And so it all comes down to, how much love am I allowing to be in my body? And is it flowing equally in all parts of my body? Because my body, now catch this, everyone, my body houses layers of consciousness. Think of below your navel is a layer of consciousness, and at your navel is another layer of consciousness, and above your navel is another layer of consciousness, and in your heart space is another layer of consciousness, and in your throat area is a layer of consciousness, and in the center of your brain, yet another, in the top of your head, yet another, and above that, another, and 4 feet above that, another, and into the earth, yet another. And so when we learn how to move with these layers of consciousness, finally talking to each other and helping each other flow, then they each get to contribute to who we are and the decisions that we make and how we operate in this world. So ask a better question. As soon as you've come off of the doorway and on object, and you've come onto subject, onto self instead, then ask, okay, where could I build some circuits in this system to allow me to be more comfortable in this situation, so that I can contribute, so that I can be loving and expressive instead of guarded and hiding and surviving, and not feel threatened, and instead feel my wholeness. And your mind is going to go to your throat or your chest or your heart or your gut. So wherever it takes you, hug that area inside. Just hug it inside the body. And if you hug that area inside the body and begin taking what I call a central channel breath, which is breathing from the earth up into the belly, and then exhale from your belly up through your heart and through your chest and through the center of your brain and out the top of your head. Inhale and exhale out the nose. Now inhale from above your head down through the center of the brain, down to the throat, down into your chest. Breathe it all the way, draw it all the way down into the belly below your navel. And then exhale down into the earth. You're going to start to feel some opening in a channel. Then breathe up from the earth into the belly. Not into the upper chest, but into the belly first. And then exhale from the heart, up through the throat, up through the center of your brain, and out the top of the head. Wow. And when you do that, you're starting to bridge these worlds. And now inhale from overhead, right down through the center of the brain, the throat, the chest, draw it all the way down to the belly below the navel. And then exhale down into the earth from there. And that central channel breathing will change you, because it allows you to bridge these frequencies in the full spectrum. And then when you ask, where in my body could I build some circuits on this situation so that I can handle it better and I can be more present with all these energies that I don't like? What's going to happen is your mind's going to go somewhere, and it's going to take you, let's say it takes you to your stomach. So you just squeeze the muscles around your stomach, or it takes you to your gut. You just squeeze the muscles back down in there, pull them back toward the spine. And when that happens, now start doing that central channel breath with special attention in that area. And it's going to start to carve a pathway directly through an area that prior to this moment, you've been circumventing. You've been going around that area. And so you don't have the power that you want to have. You don't have access to the love that you want to have. You don't have the ability to speak your truth that you want to have. So we need to carve pathways right through the center of these energy centers, so that we're integrating them and enlivening them and allowing them to talk to each other, instead of circumventing them and weaving our way and wobbling our way around them and wondering why we don't have the power to be present with anything and everything that happens in this life. And we don't have the wherewithal to be creative instead of obsessed with being safe. And so we want to bring it all together in this sort of way. So that, that's what I teach in the energy codes, but I take people by the hand and, show them how to do it step by step by step by step, because we've been living in a very different way than that. And it requires a new way of learning to work with energy instead of being obsessed with the story and the drama that comes into our lives and trying to deal with life on the level of story. It's much harder to transcend when we're locked into that world, when everything is energy, and we can work with life on the level of energy instead of the story, and have transformative experiences much more rapidly.
Beautifully said.
So,
Yeah, it's a beautiful button and bow on truly treating life as a living ceremony, and honoring it with the reverence and the joy of why we came to experience it at all. So as you took us through that breath, central channeled breath work practice, I felt it. And all of a sudden I felt myself expand into the image that you showed us perfect. And then I could feel myself actually, when you had me contract into the energy center, which was the solar plexus, it was like, oh, I was distorted again. Oh, expand, distort. And it was such a beautiful practice to reclaim ownership of all of my energy.
That's it. You want to work with, you want to work both. Yes. You want to work with the contraction and the expansion, and then back to the anchoring and then the expansion, because that's how the universe is operating. It's expanding and then contracting. But I like to call it expanding and anchoring.
Yes.
Expanding and anchoring, expanding and anchoring. Okay. So when we're in that energetically, we can feel it expand, and then we can contribute to the anchoring. Let's embody this. Let's bring it home so that it's ours. It's not out there, and that our circuits can perceive this power as being inside of us instead of out there, because that's where we can truly become masterful.
Yeah, that's like the sovereign soulful self. So good.
Indeed.
Oh my goodness. I know that we are at time, so I just want to ask, is there anything that you wish you'd been asked or that feels that needs to be shared in this last maybe minute or so together?
Well, I have certainly been going full steam ahead with so many things, and hopefully it's been helpful. What I want people to realize is that there is nothing that you are not. So there is nothing to be afraid of. You're made of the universe. There's not a single missing energy in you. It's just that until we become aware of all that we are, we begin to fear that which we think we're not. And we fear that something is powerful because we don't know our own power. We fear that someone will take advantage because we don't know our own brilliance. We fear that we will not be loved because we don't know our unlimited capacity for love, because we're made of it. And so it's really about waking to what we think we aren't, and recognizing that we are all of these glorious things. And when we do begin to integrate them, our fear becomes passion. Our anger becomes that power that gives rise to the fuel of our ever evolving selves. And when we start to integrate all these energies that we think we don't like fear and anger and those kinds of things, they take on a new contribution to the recipe when we pull them back home again. So when we love into the one who's afraid, we're now bonding with those energies, and those energies will be freed up to be utilized as the power of passion and the power of transmutation or transformation or transcendence. And when we bring those kinds of qualities together, we are empowered beyond measure, because we are the universe packed into a physical body. All physical matter is exactly that. And we are blessed at this human level to be able to awaken to that and utilize it in our lives. We just have to learn how. So we're not broken. There's nothing missing. There's nothing wrong. We just need to learn how to utilize all the faculties that we have.
Beautiful last words. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for stepping onto your dharmic personal mission so that you can bring this wisdom to us in a way that we can understand it in these times, right? That we chose to be here for. And so thank you for bringing it home for us, or giving us the pathway. At least we've got to do the work, but I'm going to encourage anyone who has not yet been a part of your work. Many of my audience members I know have, but go to one of your events, try your yoga training, your body awake. It's incredible. Get energy codes, whatever it takes, but just, that coming home and that reclamation of soulful self is needed now more than ever. So thank you for those last words. I so appreciate
my pleasure.
you.
My pleasure. Michelle, thank you for what you're doing to bring people together in this way. It is so important, and you are a potent presence on the planet. So it's a pleasure to be part of what you're doing, and I'm happy to return anytime. we are blessed to be in this world and to be awake as we are, and it is such a joy to share with others. So,
Oh, yes, yes, yes. So much yes. Yes to you coming back. Yes to we are blessed to be awake. Grab the virtual popcorn and have fun coming into
yeah,
a perfection of our auric fields.
yeah,
I'm just so grateful for you. Thank
indeed.
you, my love. Have a
Yes,
beautiful
I
rest of
do.
your day, and we'll
Yes,
see
you
you
too.
soon.
Okay, blessings to
Take
you.
care.
Bye bye
Take
for
care.
now.